Aragonese is a Romance language spoken by between 10,000 and 30,000 people throughout the valleys of the Pyrenees in Aragon, Spain, mainly in the comarca of Somontano de Barbastro, Jacetania, Alto Gallego, Sobrub, and Ribagorza. It is the only modern language that developed from medieval Navarro Aragonese. While informally known as Fablar, Aragonese is also commonly referred to by the names of its numerous local dialects, such as Chiso or Partues. History. Aragonese originated in the High Middle Ages, as one of many Latin dialects developed in areas around the Ebro and further north in certain spots of the Aragon River, as well as urban centers and monasteries. It expanded to the Pyrenees on top of a strong Basque-like substratum. The original Kingdom of Aragon was progressively expanded from the mountain ranges towards the south, pushing the Moors farther south in the Reconquista, thereby spreading the Aragonese language. The dynastic union of the Catalan counties and the Kingdom of Aragon, which formed the Aragonese crown in the 12th century, did not result in a merger of the languages of the two territories. Catalan continued to be spoken in the eastern Navarro Aragonese in the west, although with blurred boundaries because of dialectal continuity. The Aragonese Reconquista to the south ended in the Kingdom of Murcia, which was ceded by James I of Aragon to the Kingdom of Castile as a dowry for an Aragonese princess. The outstanding proponent of the Aragonese language was undoubtedly Johann Ferrande de Heredia, founder of the lineage and Grand Master of the Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem based in Rhodes. He wrote an extensive catalogue of works in Aragonese and also several works translated from Greek into Aragonese, the first in medieval Europe. The spread of Castilian, the Castilian origin of the Trastamara dynasty, and a strong similarity between Castilian and Aragonese meant that further accession was to follow. One of the key moments in the history of Aragonese was when a king of Castilian origin was appointed in the 15th century. Ferdinand I of Aragon, also known as Ferdinand of Antequera. The mutual union of the crowns of Aragon and Castile and the progressive suspension of all capacity of self-rule from the 16th century meant that Aragonese, while still widely spoken, was limited to a rural and colloquial use, as the nobility chose Castilian as their symbol of power. During the rule of Francisco Franco in the 20th century and the spreading of compulsory schooling, Aragonese was regarded as a mere dialect of Spanish and was therefore frowned upon. The constitutional democracy voted by the people in 1978 heralded the debut of literary works and studies conducted in and about the Aragonese language. Modern Aragonese today, Aragonese is still the native language within a core area, the Aragonese mountain ranges of the Pyrenees, in the comarca of Somontano, Jacetania, Sobrub, and Ribagorza. The major cities and towns in which Aragonese speakers can still be found are as follows. Aragonese is also learned as a second language by other inhabitants of the country in such areas as Huesca, Zaragoza, e.g. de los Caballeros, and Teruel. According to recent polls, they only make up around 10,000 active speakers and about 30,000 passive speakers. In 2009, the Languages Act of Aragon gave recognition of native language, original and historic, of Aragon. There are now a number of linguistic rights, such as the use of Aragonese in the public administrations of Aragon, geographic distribution, Western dialect, and so, Echo, Chaser, Burden, Chaka towns, Central dialect, Panticosa, Biescas, Tola, Broto, Bielsa, Yebra, Lanza, Eastern dialect, Benus, Plan, Bizagori, Campo, Perugar, Grouse, Estadilla, Southern dialect, Aguero, Iabir, Razzle, Boli, Leota, Huesca, Almadebar, Noki, Labata, Alguezra, Angues, Pachusa, Balbastro, Nabal. Phonology. Phonological characteristics. Aragonese has many historical traits that join it to Catalan rather than Spanish. Some of these are conservative features that are also shared with Asturianese and Portuguese. where Spanish innovated in ways that did not spread to nearby languages. Traits shared with Catalan Romance: initial F is preserved, e.g., filium greater than philo. Romance yod consistently became medieval d, as in medieval Catalan and Portuguese. This becomes modern CEHT, as a result of the devoicing of sibilants. In Spanish, the medieval result was either d, j, or nothing, depending on the context. E.g., IEVENEM greater than choven, GELARE greater than chela. Romance groups LT, CT result in JT, e.g., FACTUM greater than feta, MULTUM greater than weto. Romance groups X, PS, SCJ result in voiceless palatal fricatives, e.g., COXU greater than coixo. Romance groups LJ, C, L, T, L result in palatal lateral ul, e.g., MULIERE greater than mulla, ACUTLA greater than agala. Traits shared partly with Catalan, partly with Spanish: open O, E from Romance result systematically in diphthongs, we, ja, e.g., VETLA greater than viela. This includes before a yacht, e.g., octo greater than uito. Spanish diphthongizes except before yacht, whereas Catalan only diphthongizes before yod. Loss of final unstressed e, but not o, e.g., grande greater than gran, factum greater than feta. Catalan loses both o and e. Spanish preserves o and sometimes e. Traits shared with Spanish but not Catalan: former voiced sibilants became voiceless. Conservative traits not found in either Spanish or Catalan. Latin b is maintained in past imperfect endings of verbs of the second and third conjugations. Tenebar, teneber, dormiba. High Aragonese dialects, along with some dialects of Gascon, have preserved the voicelessness of many intervocalic stop consonants, e.g., cletam greater than cleta, cuculliatam greater than coculata. A few Aragonese dialects maintain Latin ul as geminate, ul. Vowels, consonants. Orthography. In 2010, the Academia de l'Aragonés, formed in 2006, established a single orthographic standard in order to modernize medieval orthography and to make it more etymological. This new orthography is used by the Aragonese Wikipedia. Previously, Aragonese had two orthographic standards. The Grafia de Huesca, codified in 1987 by the Consejo de Fabla Aragonesa at a convention in Huesca, is used by a majority of Aragonese writers. It uses a more uniform system when assigning letters to phonemes with less regard to etymology. For example, words traditionally written with V and B are uniformly written with B in the Huesca system. Likewise, CH, J, and G before E and I are all written CH. In addition, it uses letters more strongly associated with Spanish, such as N. The Grafia SLA, devised in 2004 by the Sociedad de Lingüística Aragonesa, is used by a minority of Aragonese writers. It uses more etymological forms that are closer to Catalan, Occitan, and medieval Aragonese sources. In the SLA system, V and B as well as a CH, J, and G before E and I are all distinct. Also, the digraph NY is used instead of N. In the 16th century, Aragonese Moriscos wrote some Romance texts in Arabic writing. Probably because of their inability to write in Arabic, the language in these texts shows a mixture of Aragonese and Castilian traits, and they can be considered among the last written examples of the Aragonese formerly spoken in central and southern Aragon. Grammar. Aragonese grammar is similar to the grammar of other Iberian Romance languages, such as Spanish and Catalan. Article. Definite article. The definite article in Aragonese has undergone certain changes that have become characteristics of dialectal differentiation. The definite articles in Old Aragonese were similar to their present-day Castilian equivalents. The most widespread articles in Aragonese are similar to those found in Galician and Portuguese, as they lack the initial L. The second article, auxiliary, after a vowel, is used with an R, whose pronunciation is the soft R. Lexicology examining the Aragonese lexicon shows the origin of Aragonese words from different languages that have influenced it. The influence of other Romance languages on Aragonese is evident, especially from neighboring languages. Catalan and Occitan influenced medieval Aragonese, and the Catalan influence continued, under the Crown of Aragon, in the territory where the languages are in contact, a fact that explains the main characteristics of Eastern Aragonese. Since the 15th century, the Romance language which has influenced Aragonese the most is Spanish, having been adopted in almost all of Aragon as the first language and reducing Aragonese to the northern region around the Pyrenees. Another Romance language with certain influence is French, the only official language in the neighboring country. Italian loans have come in through other languages such as Catalan, while words from Portuguese have come in through Spanish. Germanic words came through the conquest of the region by Germanic peoples in the 5th century AD. Aragonese also has loans from Arabic and Mozarabic due to the Umayyad conquest of Hispania in the 8th century, and in turn, Arabic brought words from other languages, such as Persian and Sanskrit. English, with its international importance, has introduced a lot of new words into the language. Gender words that derive from the second declension or assimilated to the second declension are usually masculine. Filiu greater than philo. Sciuru plus alu greater than esquirulo. Words derived from the first declension are usually feminine. Filia greater than phila. There are neutral plurals assimilated to the first declension that become feminine gender singular. Folia greater than fuella. Words that end in or are feminine. Aona, a color, and laramor. The names of fruit trees usually end in era, a suffix derived from Latin aria, and they are usually feminine. A perara, a manzanera, a nuquera, a castañera, a telera, o tilero, a olivara, a cyrusera, l'almendrera. The genders of river names vary according to the river, many of them that end in or are feminine. A sinker, a singer, a cinquita, a garana, labar, a noguera, a isuela, la ucha, la uerva, etc. The last one was called in the 16th century Rio de la Huerva. Many that come from the second and the third declension are masculine. Larabro, o Gallego, o Flumen, l'Alcanadra. Pronouns. Aragonese preserves the system of clitic pronouns derived from the Latin forms indra and ibi, as n, ni and bi, ie. This feature is shared with other Romance languages, thus making Aragonese different from other Ibero-Romance languages, which lack such clitics. Ni is used for partitive objects. No he visto como aquilo I have seen like that. Partitive subjects. Nfa tanto de mal it causes so much of pain. Ablatives, places from which movements originate. Sen Virginia ra memoria memory goes. By ie is used for locative, place where. Nibi Hebrew no, literally there was one. Allative, movement towards a place. Ve acute sb go there. Dialects. There are about 25 to 30 dialectal variants of Aragonese, the majority of which are in the province of Huesca, where natural isoglosses have developed around valley enclaves. Ribagorcan is one such variant, a transitional Eastern Aragonese dialect between Gascon Occitan, Catalan, and Spanish. There is a proposal to classify the language varieties into 4 main dialects: Central, Western, Eastern, Southern. For certain linguists, these groups are complex dialects formed by various varieties. For others, these 4 groups are Aragonese dialects, and Hecho-Aragonese and Chistor Valley Aragonese are comarcal varieties. Literature. Medieval ages. At no point in its history did the Aragonese language acquire the prestige literature developed in other Romance languages from the Iberian Peninsula. Not until the 12th–13th centuries did Aragonese begin to be used in written documents. From this period are featured Liber Regum, Ras and Fata de Amor, Libra dels Tres Reis d'Orient and Vida de Santa Maria Egiptica. Early modern period literature. Spanish was from 1500 the first language of culture in Aragon. A lot of Aragonese stood out with writings in the Spanish language, to the point that in the 17th century the Argensola brothers went to Castile to teach Spanish. Aragonese became a familiar and village language and each day acquired popular traces. The 16th was obscure. There is no document in Aragonese, just in Algemir. In the 17th century appeared certain texts that used the language to characterize popular characters. In a literary contest held in Huescar in 1650, there were 3 poems submitted in Aragonese, respectively, by Meixas Pradas, Isabel de Rodas and Filno Montanes. The first pastoradas come from the 16th and the 17th century. Contemporary literature. The 19th and 20th centuries have seen a renaissance of the Aragonese literature. However, due to the lack of a standard language, authors write about local topics, each using his own variety of the language. In 1844, the novel Vida de Pedro Saputo, by Braulio Foz, appeared in Almodovar Aragonese. In the 20th century, the costumbres comedies written by Domingo Miral gained importance, as well as the poetry of Eramundo Mendeco Arasar, both in Hecho Aragonese, in Graus Aragonese. One can highlight Cleto Toro de las Averses and Tonin de Baldemira's popular writings, in Somontano Aragonese. There are Pedro Arnal Cavero's costumbres narrations, as well as Juana Coscuela novel, Alucar, Historia d'una Mocetador Montano.